Heyo! Welcome to the Quniverse. I'm your host Q. Now let me ask y'all something. What's worse than holding an L? Well, holding an L that was outside of your control. And for this video, I like to talk about how these characters all managed to hold the fattest L at the hands of the writers. Now before I jump into this, let me preface this by saying this is not a ranking video. Everyone here in this video has somehow been done extremely dirty by the writers all the same. Which reminds me, this video may or may not possibly contain spoilers. So yeah, you've been warned, but you already must have figured that out if you clicked on the video. But with all that out the way, let's just jump right into it. It has been a long while since I've revisited JoJo, not gonna lie. But for the new people, very quickly, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is an anime series that follows the Joestar bloodline. Each part follows a different family member from a different time period. Honestly, trying to quickly explain this series is surprisingly rather difficult, but right now we are talking about Risotto Nero, who realistically should have won his battle against Doppio, but instead lost to some grade A bullshit, but he needs some specific context. Risotto Nero is the leader of La Squadra Esecuzioni, and sends his squad mates to battle Team Bucciarati, which are the main characters of this respective part, all in order to kidnap the boss's daughter Trish Una as part of their plan to discover her father's true identity. After all of his squad mates over the course of the series get packed up, Risotto decides to pursue Team Bucciarati himself in the island of Sardinia. When he pulls up, however, he winds up being confronted by Vinegar Doppio. Risotto showcases just how much of a powerhouse he is with his stand Metallica, which allows him to manipulate iron even within someone's body. This man Doppio is constantly backed into a corner but is constantly getting help from the boss, which is the other half of his split personality. Essentially, Doppio is a proxy while the boss is the one pulling the strings. That's what you need to know most about him at a surface level. Could go too deep into it, but I do not want to drag this video out too long. The main takeaway of this fight is pretty much Risotto dog-walking this man until the boss instructs Doppio to attack Jono's group in order to draw attention towards them and potentially turning the tides. Well, it worked. Okay, this is about to be some serious bullshit, but just stay with me. Narancia used his stand Aerosmith from afar and nearly fatally wounded Risotto by lighting him up with a barrage of bullets. In a last-ditch effort to take the boss down with him, Risotto traps him in place and attempts to take control of Aerosmith to gun both of them down. However, the boss uses King Crimson's second ability, Time Erasure, to erase 0.5 seconds of time, allowing him to dodge the attack, which pretty much leaves Risotto the only one to get gunned down. Oh my god, okay. So JoJo is no stranger to time manipulation. Dio Zawardo allowed him to stop time, which is broken within its own right, but felt somewhat, and I only mean somewhat, easy to understand. It's still 2 + 2 = fish levels of bullshit, but at its very surface, it's kind of makes sense. But this? Bro, what? This is a fucking plot device to keep the main villain alive. Even digging research for this specific moment, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Trust me, even watching part 5 from the very beginning mixed with just how unhinged this series is, this was still one of the few moments ever that never made any sense to me. Risotto got hoed by an actual writer disguised as a character. If any of y'all want to try to add on to this one, whether it be agreeing or disagreeing, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. I feel like I'm missing something here. It's just bullshit, bro. This man receives a giant never-ending L. Really, think about it. He crash lands on planet PNF 404 after his ship is hit with a meteor. He does manage to repair his ship and escape after fighting for his life to survive, which is great. However, when he finally arrives home, the president of the company he works for explains how the company is going into bankruptcy. Shit, they even repo his ship that he just repaired. Nah, I'd be pissed. Like, come on. This man, this whole game just wants to see his family. He goes through all of this just to be hit with that shit? He drops a bottle cap that he brought as a souvenir for his kid, and that Hawkate ship takes it and says it's worth 100 Pocos. The president sees this and thinks, wow, there's a lot of money at this planet. You and Chucklefuck Louie over there need to get back and pay this debt to save the company. Then he's just off again, not having a moment to see his family.
One adventure later.
The 10,000 Poco debt is paid off, but we forgot Louis. So guess what? Olimar now has to go back again, but now with his boss as a co-captain to find him and to collect even more treasure.
One more adventure later.
They find Louis and have to fight for their fucking lives against a giant dweevil. Olimar gets all the treasure and brings Louis back with him and the president. Still pretty fucking hoed, but we're not done yet. In Pikmin 3, though Olimar isn't a main character this time, him and Louis are on their own side quest paying off another fucking debt by getting both fruits and nuggets. So really it's Olimar getting this done while also having to play damage control with Louis' bullshit. This is all happening while the Copites are doing their own thing, i.e. doing their own story for Pikmin 3. In Pikmin 3 Deluxe, the devs also added a new side mode called Olimar's Comeback. In this mode, Olimar and Louis are repairing the Hawkate ship which apparently takes place after the main story. I'm not even gonna dive into the full details on this one, but come on now. Y'all cannot tell me this man Olimar is just the embodiment of holding an L from the writers. Even when he's not the main character, bro, he's not safe from being hoed. Then finally, we have Pikmin 4. Do I really need to say much on this one? Just look at him here. He crash landed on PNF 404 again, then became a leafling. Not much else to really say on this. So yeah, this man is just constantly being hoed by the writers, but if I had to pick the worst L, it has to be at the beginning of Pikmin 2. Surviving a crash landing and coming back to a company going under to be sent off minutes later to said planet to repay a debt is crazy levels of hate from a writer, and definitely a hella hoed moment for a character. Truthfully, there are quite a few characters in this series that got hoed by the writers, but for now, I'll keep it at Lindsey. Specifically, her elimination back in Total Drama Island. But for those unfamiliar, Total Drama is a series from Canada that aired on Cartoon Network, and it's supposed to be a spoof of Survivor where each episode contestants compete in challenges, and the characters voted off all to compete for a large amount of cash, all hosted by the great Chris McLean. So for this specific challenge, campers had to build bikes from a pile of old bike parts and race through a dangerous motocross through all parts of the island for immunity. But of course, there's a catch. After the bikes are built, they're actually forced to swap with someone else and compete like that. Last person to finish gets eliminated. So pretty much immunity doesn't mean anything. All you have to do is just not lose. So I don't know why this point keeps being pushed, but whatever, I guess. So the race is two parts, with the second part only consisting of Duncan, Owen, Lindsey, and Heather. We fast forward and Heather wins because of course she fucking does. She's the biggest op of the season, but has more plot armor than Sasuke and Batman. Don't at me. Lindsey follows suit right after her. So you'd think with Owen wiping out first that it would be him eliminated, right? Well, you'd think, until Chris points out.
Heather is safe because her bike crossed the line first, but since Duncan and Owen wiped out and didn't complete the race, they technically didn't cross the line at all, which makes you the last one to cross the line, which means it's Dock of Shame time, baby.
Huh? Okay, what the actual fuck is that reasoning? Then Heather comes in to rub salt on the wound by saying she'd give up her immunity to save Lindsey, but she ain't doing that. It's too risky. But again, there really isn't any immunity. All you had to do is just not be last. That's it. This ain't like the challenge where it's two people facing off one-on-one to stay in the game. It's just you place last, you're out. In this specific challenge, the elimination was super fucking reaching. Granted, we did get one of the best roasts from Lindsey in here.
I always told them they were wrong. I stood up for you because I thought we were BFFs. But they're right. You really are a two-faced, backstabbing, lying little...
But it can't make up the fact that she got hella hoed by the writers. I'd be lying though if I said this was the worst one from the series, but it's probably one of the most memorable for sure. Aizen shouldn't have lost his final battle against Ichigo, and here's why. This man was 20 steps ahead of everyone in the Soul Society long before Ichigo was even born. Every move was calculated, from heavily monitoring Ichigo to faking his death to revealing he was the main villain to forming the Espadas to even the invasion on the Soul Society. All this to obtain and fuse with the Hogyoku, which he ends up doing. Now tell me this, in this form he was able to take on Kisuke, Ishin, and Yoruichi with absolute ease, killed Gin in what felt like an instant, but then gets overwhelmed by Ichigo. Now, I get there is some cockiness. He destroyed the sweeper in the Dongai so that Ichigo would be able to train in there before their inevitable fight shortly after, since time moves drastically differently in there. It's sort of like the hyperbolic time chamber. Aizen did this just because he wanted a strong but equal opponent to be able to test his abilities. Well, it worked because no lie, Ichigo seemed untouchable against Aizen in probably one of the best moments in the series, but when the battle hit the climax, Ichigo used an ability called Mugetsu that would end the battle in one shot, but in exchange, he loses Soul Reaper powers. So Aizen survives this, but was caught off guard by Ichigo, willing to sacrifice his powers, which caused the Hogyoku to respond late and unable to adapt, which caused his powers to drop low enough for Kisuke's cuffs to activate. Yeah, during their match earlier, Kisuke was able to set this trap, but Aizen was too strong, so it never activated until now. So it's not like this isn't well planned, but when you really think about how much Aizen orchestrated pretty much the plot of the entire series, his fall comes out of left field. It definitely felt like like they made Aizen too powerful and they didn't know how to right themselves out of this corner, so in the end it came off a rather forceful L. He definitely got moments to shine in 1000 Year Blood War, but that's another story for another day. Just know he wasn't going to be caught lacking again, so I'll leave it at that. I definitely could have kept this going, but I didn't want this video to be too long either. But if you want to see more of this as a video series, feel free to let me know in the comments alongside any other characters that you felt were hoed by the writers. Until next time, y'all know the vibes. I'll see y'all real soon. Thanks for watching.